Oh, ich habe noch was ich euch gerne zeigen wollte. Von einem Kanal, der heißt Mega Lag. Und zwar, hier, DHL hat mein Paket verloren, aber durch den AirTag wusste er halt, wo es war. Let's go.
10 weeks ago, I set out to test how well Apple's new AirTags could track parcels being shipped overseas. To test this, I sent 3 AirTags to different locations. One to Tim Cook at Apple, one to Elon Musk at SpaceX, and one to the German embassy in North Korea. After noticing that the North Korean parcel was held up in DHL's Frankfurt facility, I decided to send a second one, this time to a government-run film commission in Pyongyang. If you haven't seen that first video yet, I highly recommend that you do. Now, a lot of exciting things have happened since then. In fact, one of the AirTags was even sent back to me. Now, I haven't opened this parcel yet, but it's...
Hey, welches? Das von Elon Musk oder das von Tim Cook?
It seems as though there's a letter inside. Also, thanks to the AirTags, I stumbled across what seemed to be some pretty dirty business practices from DHL. So, let's get into it.
Jetzt bin ich gespannt. Ich finde die Idee einfach geil. Ich bin gespannt, was er gemacht hat.
So let's start with the North Korean parcels. After attempting to send the first AirTag to...
Okay, also, in seinem ersten Video hat er 3 Pakete verschickt. Einmal eins mit einem AirTag nach Nordkorea, einmal eins zu Elon Musk und einmal eins zu Tim Cook nach Apple. Okay, und jetzt kommt, was ist mit dem passiert?
The German embassy in Pyongyang, the parcel ended up in DHL's logistics facility in Frankfurt Airport and hadn't moved in over 2 weeks. With no updates on the track and trace, I called DHL to figure out what was going on and was told that I would need to open an investigation. Well, after requesting an investigation online,
Es ist schon witzig, wenn DHL nicht weiß, wo dein Paket ist, du aber schon.
I was told I would only get an answer in about 3 weeks' time, which prompted me to send another AirTag to North Korea. Now, 2 weeks after submitting that investigation, I got this email from DHL. Hello, Jonathan. Unfortunately, your above-mentioned shipment did not arrive at the recipient abroad. In spite of intensive research, we could not find your shipment. So essentially, DHL lost the parcel, did an investigation, and couldn't find it. Now that was hilarious because I could clearly see that the parcel was still sitting in DHL's facility in Frankfurt Airport. Not only that,
So
but I was getting updates on its location every 5 to 10 minutes. Quite ironic that I knew exactly where the parcel was and DHL hadn't a clue, even after their so-called intensive investigation. They then wrote, in order to compensate you for the damage...
Aber stellt euch mal vor, jemand slippt euch so ein AirTag irgendwie unter. Dann kann der euch immer orten, das ist auch irgendwie gruselig, oder?
We need the completed and signed form. Please send us the required information within the next 7 days. I thought, huh? Within the next 7 days? And what if I don't do it within the next 7 days? You're not gonna compensate me? So 8 days later, I sent DHL an email requesting more information on their so-called investigation. I asked them to provide me with the parcel's last known location, how it could have been lost, and to detail which steps they took to locate the parcel. I couldn't wait to hear their response.
Trollt einfach DHL.
Now, you'd expect it to be easy to contact DHL after they've lost your parcel. Well, it's not. Their letter was sent from a no-reply email address, and the only contact details they provided was a phone number, which was conveniently located in the small print of their letter. And trying to find an email address on DHL's website is by no means an easy task. Essentially, DHL made contacting them as hard as bloody possible. I hate it when companies do this. Meanwhile, the second AirTag parcel headed for the North Korean Film Commission actually made it out of Frankfurt Airport after having only stayed there for 4 days. So we were back in action. The parcel was driven to a DHL facility in Leipzig Airport.
Die Idee ist so gut.
After sitting there for just over a week, I picked up its signal in a really weird location, a wind farm in the town of Landsberg, which is just north of Leipzig Airport.
Wie kommt denn da das Paket hin? Hat das jemand irgendwie weggeworfen?
Based on the weird location, I was confident I had picked up the AirTag's location mid-flight again, which is absolutely insane.
Stimmt, während des Fluges. Ja, stimmt.
But I couldn't find any flights that had left Leipzig Airport which matched the time that it was pinged, so I was kind of left scratching my head. A few days later, and I still hadn't received any more pings from that AirTag, which was strange because if it had flown somewhere, it would have arrived at its destination airport already and should have started pinging its location again. I knew it couldn't have gone directly to North Korea because, well, no such direct flight between Germany and North Korea exists, at least not to my knowledge. Now, when I checked DHL's website, I noticed they had provided a track and trace link for Korea Post, which is a South Korean postal service. When clicking on the link, I was given a page error. No surprises there. But it got me thinking, did DHL send my parcel to the wrong Korea? I thought, surely no logistics company can be that stupid.
Oh mein Gott, das wird einfach nur DHL-Roast.
Well, after sharing the screenshot on my YouTube community page, one of you brilliant souls managed to figure out which flight the AirTag had taken and shared the flight number with me. And sure enough, the damn thing was sent to South Korea. The wrong Korea. Check this out. Look how accurate the AirTag's location info was.
Es war wirklich im Flug, aber er hat einfach sein Paket zu falsch Korea geschickt.
When compared to the flight radar information. It's literally pinpoint accurate and matches the time the plane flew over this location. So cool. What I find truly fascinating about the AirTags is how much plausible information you can deduce from one AirTag ping. In this example, we were able to figure out that the AirTag was on a cargo flight. This flight was at 6,000 feet at the time of the ping. Given it was a cargo flight, it's likely only 2 pilots were on board the plane, meaning one of those 2 pilots had to have an iPhone, which communicated with the AirTag.
Pilot busted.
And that iPhone had to have an internet connection, so was likely still connected to a cell tower at 6,000 feet. And perhaps most ironically of all, the pilot's iPhone was not switched to flight mode during takeoff. It just goes to show you how powerful this technology is, even at 6,000 feet. So now that I knew the AirTag was sent to South Korea instead of North Korea, there were 2 things I needed to figure out. Why wasn't I receiving pings from the AirTag in South Korea? And why was it sent there in the first place? Well, after checking the South Korean Apple Store, I could see that AirTags are available for purchase. However, they only advertise precision finding as the key feature, and mention nothing about the Find My network. After further investigation, I found out that Apple's Find My network is not supported in South Korea. Some speculate it's due to South Korea's privacy laws, while others speculate it's due to their security laws. However, I couldn't find any concrete information on this. This basically meant that iPhones in South Korea couldn't communicate with my AirTag. Pretty interesting discovery, yet at the same time also a shame, because it meant my parcel was now untraceable. What's funny is the shipping status on DHL's website said that the parcel had arrived in the destination country. So I could only assume that this was clearly a mistake on DHL's behalf. At this point, I considered this parcel a lost cause, so I put my focus back to the original AirTag parcel, which was still stuck in Frankfurt Airport. 10 days had passed since I'd requested information from DHL about the investigation, and with no reply, I decided I had no choice but to give them a call. This was a nightmare. Despite offering an English customer service line, I was constantly being transferred to an agent who couldn't speak English. So I ended up having to ask my German friend Matthias to help out. When we called DHL, all the agent was able to tell us was that the investigation was still open. This completely contradicted their email, which concluded the parcel as being lost. So confusing. He also told us that
Ich check's nicht.
it could take up to 6 weeks before we get the results of the investigation. We then asked the agent if there was an issue delivering parcels to North Korea. He assured us twice during the phone call that service to North Korea was fully operational. With DHL proving unhelpful once again, I decided to submit their refund request form, but I left all the refund information blank and wrote that I'd like to wait.
Ist er Deutscher? Ja, Düsseldorf. Ach krass, boah, aber gutes Englisch, gotta say.
For the results of the investigation. Now here's where things get really suspicious. The very next day after submitting that form, I got an update from DHL informing me that the parcel was now being processed to the destination country. Coincidence?
Hätte ich ja früher schalten können. Digga, der schickt die von Frankfurt los, lol.
I think not. One could only speculate as to what happened here, but at this point I was fairly certain that no investigation ever took place, at least not until I submitted that refund form. My speculation is that DHL sends this refund form as a kind of cost efficiency test. If the value of your goods is low, they just pay you out, close the case, and no investigation is needed. If the costs are more significant, only then will they get a human involved to figure out where your parcel is. And with that 7-day deadline they try to impose on that refund form, it certainly seems as though they prefer paying out customers as opposed to carrying out the investigations. Now, I know that may sound completely illogical, but it's kind of like how big online retail giants have been caught throwing truckloads of returned goods away simply because they've calculated it's more cost efficient than restocking them. Keep in mind, the processing of parcels these
Das ist eh so verrückt, Alter. Dass es billiger sein kann, einfach zu bezahlen, als das Paket wiederzufinden, oder es billiger sein kann, die Sachen wegzuwerfen, als sie wieder aufzubereiten. What the fuck?
days is highly automated. Not only that, but the volume of parcels which DHL has to deal with is insane, so humans likely only get involved as a last resort. Again, I'm only speculating here, but I can't help but think that if I had submitted that refund form properly and on time, DHL would have just paid me out and thrown my parcel away. But speculation aside, the good news was we finally had the parcel back on track and heading for North Korea. And this time, the parcel flew directly out of Frankfurt Airport and arrived in Beijing, China. This was really exciting.
Okay, krass.
Because
Einfach, also überhaupt, dass er das für die ganze Welt so tracken kann mit seinem eigenen AirTag, ist schon krass.
the majority of mail going into North Korea typically goes through China. It was starting to feel as though this project might actually work. After the parcel spent a few days in a facility in the city of Beijing, it was then transported to a facility in Beijing Airport. And
Wie kann ein Video über ein Paket so interessant sein?
it sat there with no activity for over a week. Then seemingly out of nowhere, the other North Korean parcel appeared in Beijing too. DHL finally figured out they had sent it to the wrong Korea and put it back on the right path. Good job, DHL. You figured that one out all by yourself. So with both AirTag parcels now in Beijing, I was starting to feel pretty happy with how things were progressing. But on the 10th of July, I got an update on the film commission parcel informing me that the shipment cannot be imported into the destination country. And of course, DHL offered no information as to why. So
Weil Nordkorea wahrscheinlich, ne?
I knew I had to call him again. Luckily for me, this time I managed to get someone who spoke with me in English. He told me that either the parcel had been declined due to containing dangerous goods, or because the customs declaration form had fallen off the package. Now, neither of those reasons seemed likely to me. Highly frustrated with the response, I managed to find
Ich weiß ja nicht, ob Apple legal in Nordkorea ist.
an email address for DHL in North Korea. So I wrote them an email asking if they were still receiving parcels into their country. To my surprise, I got a reply the very next day. Dear customer, thank you for your inquiry on our service operation. I'm sorry to inform you that we can't accept any inbound shipments from other countries into the DPRK.
Hä? Aber Deutsch DHL hat doch gesagt, es geht.
Because all international flights are suspended from China to the DPRK due to the government measures to prevent COVID-19 from other countries. We are not sure when international flights will be resumed right now. If we have any updated information on our service operation, I'll let you know ASAP. Honestly, I can't say I was surprised. But man, I literally had 2 customer service agents at DHL assure me that shipping to North Korea was still possible. And to this date, DHL's website still shows a green light for shipping to North Korea.
Das ist halt echt wack, gotta say.
I mean, how does...
Du musst auch so welche Experimente machen. Ja, wenn ich da mal so eine gute Idee hätte, wieso nicht? Aber auf so eine Idee muss erstmal kommen, weil die Idee ist halt wirklich gigasmart.
DHL not know their service to North Korea is suspended? Do their departments not communicate with one another? All that effort seemingly for nothing. Now, the day after receiving this email, I noticed that the parcel was making its way back to me in Germany. But right now I'm in Croatia, so I won't be there for when it gets delivered. Now, although the other parcel is still being processed in Beijing, I expect that it will receive a similar fate. Yeah, I'll come back to this. But for now, let's find out what happened to the parcel I
Stimmt, der hat aber eins zurückbekommen, ne?
sent to Elon Musk. Well, after the parcel arrived
Okay, lol, als ob SpaceX einfach so ein X hat. The fuck, wie geil.
to SpaceX on the 25th of May, it chilled there for about 2.5 weeks. Then finally, on June 11th, it had been taken to a new address. It went to a metal scrapyard. The very next day, the
Elon Musk entsorgt einfach seine Post komplett.
AirTag sent its final ping in Castaic, California. RIP. I guess it went to a recycling facility or something. Now, I'm not disappointed with Elon Musk or SpaceX. I'm sure they get a ton of fan mail and, well, they can't reply to them all, so it's fine. But as for Tim Cook's AirTag, well, after the parcel arrived at Apple Park on May 24th, it sat there for almost 6 weeks doing nothing. Then, on the 3rd of July,
Ja, es ist wirklich im Apple Park angekommen.
I noticed that the AirTag had left Apple Park and had made its way to Cologne, Germany.
Köln.
That could only mean one thing. They had sent the AirTag back to me.
Das ist ja super cool von Apple tatsächlich.
The very next day, I got a knock on my door from FedEx and I was reunited with my AirTag. It was so tempting to open the parcel, but I decided I wouldn't open it until I was ready to shoot this video. And now here we are, so let's open this bad boy and find out what's inside.
Das ist ja saucool von Apple, oder?
I'm almost a little bit nervous.
Ich schicke da jetzt auch mal was hin.
Oh, there is a letter inside. Oh, it's so exciting.
Wie cool. Das ist ja saugeil.
Official Apple letter. That's crazy. What the hell? Okay, they definitely repackaged the AirTag as well, which is interesting.
Das ist so cool von denen.
There she is. Oh, I'm like shaking. Honestly, I've had this parcel for 2 weeks, and finally, after sending this parcel, I don't know how far away it is, like 7,000 miles away, I'm overwhelmed with joy, honestly. There's the unicorn AirTag, back in my possession. This is sick. All right, the moment of truth, the letter. Let's see what they wrote.
Wirklich einen Brief geschrieben? Jetzt bin ich gespannt, was drin steht.
Okay. Okay, look at that. It's crazy. All right. Okay, so they wrote, Dear Jonathan, thank you for sharing about your project for Apple AirTags. We're delighted to hear about creative uses for the AirTags and how they can improve our customers' lives. As you can imagine, Mr. Cook receives hundreds of letters each month from customers like yourself. Unfortunately, he is unable to respond to every request.
Okay, keine Überraschung da, dass Tim Cook nicht selber geantwortet hat.
But we hope you continue to enjoy your AirTag as it returns from its unique journey across the world. Sincerely, Administrative Assistant, Office of the CEO, Apple Inc.
Es ging wirklich bis zum Büro von Tim Cook, halt zu seinem Assistenten. Aber krass, wie weit das gekommen ist.
Okay, so it wasn't a letter from Tim Cook himself, but hey, I have to give props to Apple here because
Das
I mean,
war
for them to
wirklich
actually
cool.
go ahead and take the time to write me a letter and return the AirTag, I mean, that's pretty cool. And Apple, if you're watching this, thanks for being a good sport and returning the AirTag to me. Props on making a really cool product. I've had a lot of fun with it so far. Now, one last thing I want to mention about this letter is, I don't know much about paper, but it looks like a special paper of some kind. And I couldn't help but crack up when I saw that the edges are curved. Apple's all about their curved edges at the moment. I don't know, it's pretty funny. So that pretty much wraps up this little experiment. I'm really sorry I couldn't pull off...
Sehr, sehr cooles Video. Ich fand's voll interessant und ich fand vor allem die Idee sehr gut. Interesting.